So today is the final day of the Cravings reset, just in time to ring in the new year tonight and just think about those intentions with more clarity, maybe some more insight and more compassion than you had for yourself just a few days ago, right? It's really, really important that you just have tons of compassion for yourself, okay? Here we go. So before we dive into today, I wanted to review what we covered so far, just really quickly. So if you missed the replays, those are going to be available until Monday, January 5th. But day one was about cravings not being your fault. Remember, cravings are caused when a stress circuit in your emotional brain drains your dopamine, which is that feel-good chemical, and that activates a food circuit, which drives you to eat so that you can feel better. So at some point in your life, usually early childhood, there was stress that happened and somebody gave you food to feel better, or you turned to food to feel better. So these stress circuits usually form either in a traumatic time during early childhood or a period of stress overload as an adult, just for a little bit of context and background there. Now, day two was about why motivation fades, because motivation lives in your thinking brain. And the thinking brain goes offline under stress. Remember, that's when the emotional brain takes over, like you're switching the TV channel. So today is the most important day because we're kind of putting it all together. And it's about how you can really lower your cravings and change your habits for good in real life and stop waiting for this perfect day or a calm season where nothing is going on, but we need to be able to change on a regular, normal day where you might be pulled in several different directions, where you might have 10 things on your to-do list. Maybe today is that day when you're tired, when you're overwhelmed, when your brain says, I need a break. Maybe tonight, like me, you're going to be at a social gathering. And maybe I used to have a food wire that I ate for excitement. So at holidays, at parties and everything, there was a big being excited and food wire that I had to uncouple. But now I know I can go over to their house, I can have some soup, and I can be done. I don't have to drink if I don't want to drink. I don't have to eat food that I don't want to eat just because I'm excited or there's social peer pressure to do so. Today is about building change in a way that doesn't require white knuckling because honestly, isn't that so exhausting and just so discouraging and ineffective when you feel like a failure? I think when I was reviewing the chat files, it was a very common thing among participants here was you felt like you failed and you haven't, all right? You're going to learn more about that today, specifically about the sequence that actually works to alleviate those food cravings at the root cause level. So we reviewed them briefly. There's 4 steps. The first is to regulate your nervous system. The second is to stabilize your metabolism. The third is rewire your 4 big stress circuits, which were the food, mood, love, and body circuits. And then lastly, you strengthen your joy circuits. And there's one joy circuit for each of the 7 higher purpose rewards of sanctuary. So I want you to listen to these. Really just kind of slow down and listen to these. And I want you to type which one is most motivating for you today in the chat. So sanctuary, peace and power from within. Authenticity, feeling whole and being genuine. Vibrancy, healthy with a zest for life. Integrity, for doing the right thing. Intimacy, giving and receiving love. Spirituality, which is however you define it. And then freedom, a life of joy and purpose. Okay. Which reward is motivating you the most today? Yeah, Liz says peace and power from within. Integrity, great. Mine would be authenticity. If I wasn't showing up today, I wouldn't be doing the work that I know that I'm called to do. So that's why I'm here today. Cynthia said receiving love, so intimacy. Yeah. Lisa says sanctuary, peace and power from within. Mhm. Debbie says vibrancy. Great. So keep that reward in mind throughout this entire training. Okay. Now, those 4 steps is what we call the Zivli method. Zivli is Zivli, and it's not a set of rules. It's not a quick fix. It's not something that you power through with willpower. Zivli uses evidence-based information about insulin resistance and neuroplasticity, which is changing your brain circuitry, to target both your physiology and your psychology for lasting results. Now, this method, I call it my fourth child. I have three real kids. This is my fourth. It's the result of years of coaching and feedback and refinement on this program. I think this is the 10th or 11th time that we've been running this Zivli program. And so we have a lot of great feedback from our members about what they really enjoyed, what they would like to see different, what was most helpful, what they need more of. So this has been an ongoing process of refinement and iteration. And what I've learned is that when people skip steps or try to do things out of order, they're still probably going to make some progress. They can feel better, they might lose some weight, they might see some improvements in their health. But as a person who has coached hundreds of people one-on-one, what I saw over and over again was this. The clients who already had low stress coming into the program, like they were genuinely a happier person, maybe they had less trauma in their life, better stress resilience, they had better results. The clients who had high stress struggled more. Maybe they had a really high demanding job or a stressful family life or a lot of trauma, and they still would make some progress, but man, it seemed like they had to work a lot harder. And they had a harder time building the habits and a harder time sustaining those healthy habits. Even the most motivated people, people who had a dialed in strategy and strong traditional mindset tools, which used to be all that we had in the program before I knew better. Now we have the emotional brain training tools as well, but they wavered under stress. Not because they didn't care, not because they weren't trying hard enough, but just because their stress was altering their biochemistry. It raised their insulin, which increased their hunger. And not only did the stress raise the floor, that's what I call it is, you have this hidden hormone floor that your weight can't go under. Your blood sugars can't go below. That's your hormones, okay? And your hormones are going to drive your habits. So not only did the stress raise the floor for what their weight or blood sugars could get to, but it also took the thinking brain offline. So stress is really a double-edged sword because it affects your brain state and your biochemistry. And the traditional mindset tools that we had before emotional brain training, again, only worked when the stress was low or they naturally had low stress. And eventually, stress shows up in all of our lives. So, when stress hits a brain that hasn't been trained in self-regulation, the emotional brain takes back over, right? And I saw this pattern. I saw this, just as a geriatric physical therapist. Again, I'm specialized in geriatrics, so I went through a residency program and they really train you in pattern recognition. Okay, you see this type of walking, what does that mean? You see this types of vital signs, what does that mean? These are the medications, what diseases do they have? You're going to see patterns. And I noticed the pattern where clients usually got off track, which was during periods of higher stress, period. Even if it's just a poor night of sleep, or maybe they were traveling, or maybe it was recurrent in the afternoon or evenings or a holiday. And when I learned about emotional brain training, I knew it was the missing piece because it's simple, it's repeatable, and it's grounded in principles of neuroplasticity. So it's very scientific, which matters to me. Plus, the entire method, it's just amazing. It's built on feeling love and creating joy in your life. And who doesn't want more of that, right? It just feels good. And I like to say, if you want to feel good, you have to feel good along the way. You can't create positive outcomes from a negative mindset. So we have to really do the inner work to see the outer results that we want. And it's taken years to create the Zivli method so that it can support people living with chronic stress by treating the stress itself. And again, that's going to allow the thinking brain to stay online so that you can implement the low insulin and inflammation strategies needed to reach your health goals. So I want to think about this. I want you to think about, what does success look like for you 1 year from now? As you're thinking about maybe a New Year's goal or a plan or a resolution, what outcome are you hoping to get? I want you to put it in the chat. Is it lose 20 pounds? Is it lose 50 pounds? Is it gain muscle? Is it run a 5K? Is it lower your A1C out of the pre-diabetic range? I want you to be really specific so that I know what are you working towards right now. And it's important not just that I know, but more importantly that you know that you have that target, that North Star that you are using as a litmus test for, does this decision take me closer to that goal or farther away? Okay, so Cynthia, lower A1C and weight loss. I would love them to keep coming in. Good. Mary wants to be at a desired weight and blood work looking good. Liz, improve health, so I quit falling. Alina wants to weigh 125 pounds. Liz, less flares of chronic illness, drop 25 pounds, more joy and less worry. Lena, decreased weight, lower A1C, lower A1C. Yep, a lot of A1Cs. You're in the right place here. I like Malika's transform from stress and brain regulation and love, honor, and respect myself. Yeah. Guys, these are wonderful goals, and you seriously, you're in the best place for them. Thanks for sharing those. Keep them coming. If you haven't typed yours in yet, keep it coming. So I want to review each step in that Zivli method a little bit more specifically. So step number one is to regulate your nervous system. And this is where you're going to build the skill of calming your stress response in the moment so that you can quickly change your biochemistry and feel better quickly, fast. That's what we want. You're going to regain access to your thinking brain. So this first step gives you relief. Relief from perseverating thoughts, worry, fear, overwhelm, and anxiety. And my mom came over this morning to watch the kids for a couple hours. And she told me, I'm going to get back into my normal exercise routine starting tomorrow, January 1st, a new year. And I'm like, you know what I'm doing today, right? Like, you know what I do, right? So I asked her, I'm like, how'd you sleep last night, Mom? And her mom, so my Nana recently passed away. So my mom's been under a lot more stress lately, working through the trust and the life insurance stuff. And she's like, I did not sleep well. I've been up since 2 a.m. just thinking about everything that needs to get done and thinking about the life insurance stuff. And I just said, Mom, that's really great that you want to get into a regular workout routine. Support it 100%. And in order to do that, I suggest you start EBT so that you can turn off the perseverating thoughts that kept you up in the middle of the night that made you too tired to get up and work out this morning. So do you see how this is kind of fitting together? And it's also important that you recognize that when we talk about self-regulation, there's different ways to do that. Some of them just take a little bit slower than what your your emotional brain needs at that time. So for it to really, really be effective, self-regulation techniques need to check these boxes, okay? It needs to meet you where you're at, which is in the emotional brain when you're stressed. It needs to be fast and easy, not complicated. I think if you've been here live the last 2 days, or if you watched the replay from yesterday, you saw me coach people who are at a brain state 5, probably for multiple days. I know Liz was on Thursday. And then we coached on, I think it was Monday, days at a brain state 5 plus plus plus. And in 10 to 15 minutes, she was already up to a 3. So these tools are fast, they're easy, and they're effective. The other thing is it needs to be rewarding so that you're actually going to do it. If it's not, Dr. Mellon, the founder of EBT, she says, if it's not fun, it's not EBT. And she says it for a reason. It needs to increase your dopamine, your serotonin, and your oxytocin naturally so that you don't need the external solution like food to make you feel better. And that's exactly what emotional brain training does and why it's so unique and why I had to rework our entire Zivli program and the Zivli method to include it once I learned about it. So once you can use some self-regulatory skills to move past the resistance to change, because that resistance will be there, it's an essential pain of change that we learn how to accept. The next step is to stabilize your metabolism. This is where food and lifestyle are used as medicine to quiet the blood sugar swings and inflammation, okay? And when your chemistry is more stable, your emotional brain has less to react to in general, and that's going to just calm your cravings, and they're going to be less intense and less frequent. Because the more your blood sugar is spiking and dropping, the more food cravings you're going to have. And our Zivli strategy is centered around a low insulin and low inflammation lifestyle to prevent and reverse insulin resistance, which is my second passion. So if it's not mindset, it's insulin resistance, and they really do go together. It's the driver for many of the chronic conditions that plague our modern world today, like type 2 diabetes, obesity, some cancers, some dementias, osteoarthritis, and so many others. Now, the four pillars of this Zivli lifestyle are food, of course, meaning what you eat and when you eat. We recommend a high protein, fiber, and healthy fat lifestyle. Carbohydrates are individualized based on your personal metabolic health and activity levels. This is not carnivore. This is not keto. This is personalized nutrition based on your metabolic health and goals. Okay. We use intermittent fasting, and again, that's very personal. It's depends on your psychology, it depends on your lifestyle, and so we really want to teach you how to do that in a way that doesn't compromise muscle mass and that's not this form of self-torture. Because I think that a lot of people are using the wrong fuel for change. They're using almost like this deprivation or this self-punishment type of energy, but we really just need to come from a place of self-love. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later on. Also, sleep is critical, as is lowering your overall stress load at the cellular level. So think about reducing oxidative stress from alcohol and smoking and environmental toxins. Now, just like the order of the four phases of the Zivli method matters, the order of the lifestyle changes matter too. And I developed something called the Zivli habit hierarchy so that you know what to focus on first, second, and so on. Because you've probably heard the saying, if everything is important, nothing is important. We want you to focus on primarily one habit at a time. And there's 10 habits in our hierarchy. And I would say that emotional brain training stuff supports all of them, kind of always running in the background. I'm just going to review the first 5 habits here because this is where most of our new members will be focusing. So the first habit is a morning mindset routine. This is essential so that you have personal time to reflect and plan and do EBT and get yourself ready for the day. It's kind of like starting your day on offense, not defense. And you're going to be living your life with proactive intention, not reacting to life stressors. Okay. After that, we recommend a weekly meeting with yourself, and that's going to just review your calendar, maybe some light meal planning just to be sure that you have food on hand so you're not running to the convenience store, the gas station out to eat just because you don't have anything to eat. And many people will also review their goals and their progress during that weekly meeting. Now, the next habit is sleep. Like I told my mom, it's a lot easier to work out in the morning after a good night of sleep. Everything else is easier with sleep. I want you to think of these habits like dominoes, and you're just lining up dominoes so that the habits at the end of the list just kind of fall down a lot easier than if you were to pick up that one domino and start there. Okay. So we have the morning mindset routine, the weekly meeting, sleep. The fourth habit is drinking enough water. So simple, so simple, but it's commonly overlooked, especially when it comes to how it helps with your blood sugars and with your satiety. And then the fifth habit is eating enough protein. And in our world, enough is ideally 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight per day. I'm not getting into any of the numbers today. We help our members calculate that and go about finding simple, repeatable ways to get their protein in. Okay. The simpler your diet, and when I say diet, I mean habitual way of eating, not a way of eating that you do short term so you can fit into a dress for your daughter's wedding, but a habitual way of eating. The simpler and the more repeatable you make that, the easier it's going to be for you. Now, eating enough protein is very important, especially as you're aging and if you're losing weight, so that you can preserve your lean muscle and your bone health while losing weight. Okay. A lot of people have been turning to the GLP-1s. I see commercials on TV for them all the time. And it makes me really sad because they're often prescribed without the complementary lifestyle coaching. And of course, no one's giving the mindset coaching needed so that people can change their habits. But the research has shown that if you're doing a GLP-1 and you're not eating enough protein and you're not resistance training, up to half of the weight that you lose can come from muscle. But if you stop the medication and you resume your normal eating, then all of the weight that you gain back is fat. So you have a slower metabolism than when you started losing weight because you've lost muscle. And now you have more fat and less muscle. And muscle is more metabolically active than fat tissue. So that's why your metabolism slows down. So I understand if you're considering those, or maybe you're already on those, just recognize that they might be a jump start, they might be a bridge. You might feel like they help, they don't. I don't really care. I want you to be safe using them, and I want you to recognize that the stuff I'm talking about today is a non-negotiable for your long-term health and happiness. All right. The other thing about protein is it's very satiating. So in general, you're going to have fewer food cravings and find it easier to maintain the calorie deficit required to lose weight. Now, those are just the first 5 habits. We teach them all in our program. We teach them just very specifically on how to do it as simply and easily as possible. And to be clear, this is a lifestyle, and our members have lifetime access to our Zivli program and coaching support with no ongoing fees because I think that's just how it should be. I worked in an insurance-based model for far too long, and I just like simple, upfront um, payment like that. And I think that I don't want to compete with Amazon Prime. I don't want to compete with Netflix. I think that you should have the lifetime access and support to the materials that you need to change your habits for life. Now, another thing that's important is I don't expect people to change even all of these first 5 habits during the 6 months. Everybody moves at their own pace, and members can do reboots as many times as they'd like to continue to refine their habits over time. So, after some metabolic stability, we're still in that step 2 is achieved, and the brain has lower levels of insulin and inflammation, rewiring is going to be easier. We're going to rewire the big 4 circuits in your emotional brain that drive overeating. Without this rewiring, old wires will activate during stress. You're going to get triggered far more often, and you're going to stay in this loop of self-regulation, just like constantly feeling like you need to meditate or get a massage just to manage your stress. And remember that in EBT, 90% of the benefits come from rewiring. So we can't just stop at self-regulation. We're going to do the food, mood, love, and body circuits. Okay. And once you rewire them, they used to fire automatically under stress, and they're not going to anymore. Okay. We're going to decouple them from stress. Once you rewire your food circuit, we kind of did a little mini imagine yesterday. Remember at the restaurant where you were going at a brain state 3, 4, or 5 versus going in at a brain state 1, having rewired your food circuit. How interesting was it to imagine stopping when you were satisfied, not stuffed, gladly saying no to dessert because it didn't feel like who you were anymore, right? So those are the kinds of things that you can expect when you rewire your food circuit. And you're also no longer constantly talking to yourself out of food because your brain stops seeing it as the solution. Okay. But we can't just stop at the food circuit because the mood, love, and body circuits are often feeder circuits that activate a food circuit. Your chance of returning to old food patterns is really high if you don't continue to rewire those other 3 circuits. So, for example, if you have a stuck mood of anxiety and anxiety makes you want to eat, it's going to be really hard to stop overeating until you rewire that mood circuit. And from personal experience, I can tell you that rewiring the big 4 changed not just my food patterns, but my marriage and my mothering in very, very beautiful ways. I just stopped reacting so much, and our household is much calmer because of it. So, EBT is really one of the few methods specifically designed to rewire the emotional brain stress circuits, not just calm them. We are not stopping at self-regulation, okay? I'm not saying you're never going to get stressed anymore, but when you do get stressed, now the stress and the EBT is a new strong neural pathway. So you have an internal solution and tools that work quickly and effectively and repeatedly to handle stress without the food, without a maladaptive mood, or without a maladaptive relationship pattern, right? So finally, the last step in the Zivli method is to strengthen joy circuits. And this is going to raise your brain state so that stress doesn't knock you down as easily in the first place. Okay, we're kind of reinforcing those new circuits with joy. And when you just have more joy, when you have stronger circuits like that, you're not going to be bothered as easily. You're not going to worry as much. They call it popping back up into brain state one. You'll have better stress resilience and you're just going to stay more regulated without the effort. You're also going to experience an abundance of all 7 of those higher purpose rewards. Remember, sanctuary, authenticity, vibrancy, integrity, intimacy, spirituality, and freedom. All of those come to you in abundance when you strengthen your joy circuits. So when you do this, when you follow the Zivli method in this order, change doesn't just happen, it sticks. And you're not managing cravings forever. You're not constantly getting back on track. You're living more of your life at brain state 1, where your biochemistry is optimized and your choices come from purpose rather than the default brain wiring that you didn't choose in the first place. And that's the difference between temporary progress and lasting freedom. Okay. So here's the big picture. If you regulate without rewiring, you're going to feel better, but you'll spend a lot of time managing stress and cravings as they frequently come up when you're triggered. Rewiring is much easier when your brain already has less stress and more stable blood sugar and lower inflammation. If you rewire without strengthening your joy circuits, the change is going to be more fragile because when stress does come, those old circuits are more likely to reactivate because you haven't strengthened the counter opposite, the joy circuits. So you're going to be more likely to backslide. And if you do all the EBT work, if you self-regulate, rewire, and strengthen your joy circuits, but you're still following ineffective advice for your diet and your lifestyle, you're going to feel calmer and happier and less stressed and more joy, but you're just not going to see the physical results that you're hoping for. So each piece matters and the order matters. When you follow the full Zivli method, you're going to regulate your nervous system, stabilize your metabolism, rewire stress-based patterns, and strengthen joy. You're going to get different results. The Zivli method is not something that you start and stop. This is not a 6-month program and you're just this new person. Okay? It's not like that. It becomes your way of living. It's not a tool anymore. It's just what you do. And that's why I actually chose the name Zivli. I'm not Croatian, but all of the English words were taken when we were researching, well, what should we call this business? But in Croatian, Ziv means to live. And then the LI stands for low insulin and low inflammation lifestyle. So before we continue, I want to take you through another imagine so that you can experience what is possible for you. Okay. So I want you to know that what we're essentially doing with emotional brain training is performing brain surgery on yourself. You are changing from the inside out. You are no longer just managing symptoms or chasing outcomes, okay? I want you to know that how you look and feel today is a direct result of your brain circuitry from yesterday or last year, 5 years ago, maybe starting from when you were born, okay? So let's all just go and take a nice deep breath for this imagine. And let it out. One more time, nice deep breath in through your nose. And out through your mouth or in any way that feels really comforting and comfortable to you. And then put your shoulders back and your chest out. Lift that chin slightly and bring a warm smile to your face. Warmly observe yourself and feel a wave of compassion for yourself. And just imagine changing from the inside out. You're developing more sanctuary, more authenticity, more vibrancy, more integrity. And there comes a day where you wake up and you look at yourself in the mirror with a lot of compassion, but you think, this isn't who I am anymore. This extra weight, it's not congruent with who I am on the inside. It will no longer be rewarding for your emotional brain to hold on to it, and you're going to want to let that weight go. And because you've done the work of rewiring your circuits and you have internal solutions to get your safety, love, comfort, and pleasure, you will no longer need the extra food keeping the weight on. This point is called the joy of releasing excess weight. And that's when your weight becomes historical, part of your past, not who you are now and not who you will be in the future. The extra weight is no longer authentic to you. And you are so motivated by those higher purpose rewards that your brain allows you to do the things needed to release it. The things you used to have so much resistance about doing, you now gladly do because it's congruent with who you are, with your new brain circuits. It used to be really hard to stop at 80% full, just when you were satisfied. But now you have so much internal dopamine from these higher purpose rewards that it's easy. You don't need the food for dopamine anymore. It just becomes fuel that you happen to enjoy. You begin to experience the deeper rewards that drive lasting change. And that's when change stops feeling like work and starts feeling like who you are. You're going to experience these elevated emotions that have been buried under stress circuits of love, compassion, gratitude, hope, forgiveness, awe, and joy. Love, compassion, gratitude, hope, forgiveness, awe, and joy. Take a nice deep breath, come out of that imagine, and I just want you to think about which one of those elevated emotions do you want to feel more of today? Love, compassion, gratitude, hope, forgiveness, awe, and joy. Type it in the chat, and I would love to know just so far in the training, what has your amazing learning been? Go ahead and type that in the chat. What you want to feel and your amazing learning. Isn't it fun? Don't you get just like a little bit of dopamine reading these emotions? Hope, joy, hope, joy. Great. Forgiveness, joy, how to deal with stress. Oh, mine is joy. Mine is joy today too. Yeah. I want you to recognize that the work that we just talked about is subconscious, and you have to have the tools that get to and can change the unconscious emotional brain in order to experience all of the goodness that we've been talking about. And here's the important part. This kind of change doesn't come from more willpower or more discipline or trying harder on your own. It comes from having the right tools, the right sequencing or steps, and the right support so that, especially when your brain is rewiring, you don't fall back into old patterns when life gets stressful. And that's what Zivli was built to do. Zivli isn't about forcing behavior change from the outside in. It's about changing the circuitry that drives your behavior so the choices you want to make finally feel natural and congruent with who you are. Inside the Zivli program, I teach you how to rewire your emotional brain, regulate stress, lower insulin and inflammation, and build those higher purpose reward, those joy circuits, so that weight loss becomes a byproduct of who you are becoming. And if your goal isn't to lose weight, if it's just to lower your A1C, some people need to gain weight, the goals are a byproduct, okay? Doesn't matter what the goal is. So if you are ready to stop managing symptoms, if you're ready to stop fighting your brain, and you're ready to experience the joy of releasing excess weight instead of battling it, I want to invite you to join us inside of Zivli. Zivli is a structured, guided coaching program designed to help you lower insulin and inflammation, rewire stress and cravings, and release extra weight in a sustainable way. This is for you if you're tired. You're just tired of starting over and doing things that aren't effective, and you want a calm, sustainable method to feel like yourself again. So inside of Zivli, we focus on supporting you through the 4 phases of lasting change that we just reviewed, okay? Again, that's learning tools to regulate the nervous system so that you can overcome the natural resistance to change and the common overwhelm that accompanies change. We heard that time and time and time again from our new members, so we put that right up front in the program to deal with the overwhelm. We're going to help you stabilize your metabolism by eating and living in a way that lowers insulin and inflammation without restriction. Rewire the emotional brain, starting with the 4 big circuits. And then you get ongoing coaching and support. We have members here today for ongoing coaching and support. Okay, they get to go through the program as many times as they want. We're going to help you strengthen those joy circuits so that the changes and the circuitry stick. And you're not going to do this alone. You get the coaching, you get the structure, you get the accountability, and a community of like-minded people walking the same path. So that when life gets stressful, and it will, you have a safe, supportive place to go with people who get it. Now, our program is designed to fit into your real life. You do not need hours a day. You don't need perfection. You don't need willpower. You just need a willingness to show up and practice and keep going. Now, members who are here today can go through our it's not fully updated, but there's definitely new emotional brain training material, and it is restructured to support kind of how the brain is designed to work. You can do that reboot for free. You're already a member, you have free access for life. So you should have received an email to do that for free. So for people who are not members yet, the investment to join Zivli is a one-time payment of $3,000. And we do offer flexible payment plans, including a longer-term option, which we just added. This is the first time that we've done this, of starting at $149 per month. Because that was a big piece of feedback that we got was, this is great. I would love to do it. I can't afford it. So we created a lower price to make it more accessible. So in order to join, this is just for new people, reboot people, existing members. You're already on the inside. You're already going to get the emails if you signed up for the reboot. But for people who are new and you want to join today, what you can do is you can go to zivli.com, so zivli.com/join. And Beth just dropped the link there for you to click on. And just know you don't have to decide today. I know for a lot of people, this is a big investment. And often it's wrestling not just with the financial aspect, but the emotional aspect of like, am I worth this? Do I believe that I am going to follow through and make good on the investment? And I can tell you wholeheartedly, we have designed a program to support you and so that you can make good on this investment, because I know that's a big fear that a lot of people have. If you need to take some time over the weekend to think about it, that's fine. If you have a partner and you want to talk to them about it, that's fine. We do have the 2-for-1 option. So if you have a spouse and they need to get healthy too, and they might be interested in doing this, they can have a separate login at no extra charge so that you're not the middleman trying to explain everything that you're learning. So you do need to live at the same address. We don't care if you're married, of course, but that 2-for-1 partner option is really nice. Many people use it. And to get it, one, just enroll. So you can enroll today and then email us at support@zivli.com and just say you want to use the 2-for-1 deal and we can walk you through that. So enrollment will close on Monday, January 5th at midnight Central Time, and we get started on January 7th. So next Wednesday already, I can't believe it. I'm very excited. So I'm going to repeat some of those key details, okay? Enrollment closes Monday, January 5th at midnight, and you join from zivli.com/join. And if what I described earlier, the joy of releasing excess weight, experiencing more freedom in your life, more authenticity, vibrancy, sanctuary, integrity, if that felt true for you, this is simply the structure that helps you get there. And again, if you're already an existing member, check your email. I think Beth sent it out yesterday to sign up for the reboot. If you didn't see it, just email support and we're happy to get you signed up. Now, I do want to get to some Q&A about the program, but before we do that, there's 3 questions that I have, kind of litmus test questions to help you decide if you're a good fit for the program, and more importantly, if it's a good fit for you, okay? So what I want you to do is type yes or no in the chat to each of these questions. Will joining Zivli get me closer to my goal? Yes or no? Or perhaps I don't know yet. If you don't know, that's great. There's opportunities to ask questions. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, don't know. So Cynthia said, don't know. Cynthia, yeah, Debbie says, I don't know. Malika says, I don't know. That's okay. I have another question coming up for you that I want you to answer, right? So that's the first question. The second is, instead of doing this alone, which I know is so tempting because we survey people that don't join and we ask, well, why didn't you join? And they said, I wanted to do it on my own. That's the number one thing. So instead of doing this on your own, will joining and getting the support, information, and coaching increase my chance of success? Yes or no? Type that in the chat. Will joining increase my chance of success? Yes. Yeah. Hi, Deborah. Thank you. Yes, Deborah's a current member. Wonderful. So Debbie said, are the 2 courses you offer included in the Zivli membership? What I think that she's talking about is the macros made simple. Yes, that's our module 2. And then the insulin resistance diet blueprint. Yes, Debbie, both of those are available. They're just like module. It's not even module 2 anymore. I'm so used to saying that language because we split it up over more weeks. But the nutrition information is in there. And then there's a link to the insulin resistance diet blueprint. Yeah. Yeah, Bonnie, that's the reason I joined. I need help. Yeah. Liz, yes, will definitely help overcome peer pressure from friends and neighbors. Yeah, of course. Okay, next, can I make the investment work? Again, we added that $149 a month payment option because people asked for it. People said, I need a lower entry point. So if you really wanted to, yes or no, could you figure it out? Because it's a real thing. And I don't want, sometimes, financial pressure is stressful enough. So if you can't even pay your monthly bills, you're not a good fit for the program at this point. Okay. So can you make it work? If you want to join, can you make it work? So the 149 is a 24-month option. That's our lowest price. Yeah, Elizabeth, yeah. Okay. So Debbie, I will get to those questions for sure. How flexible is participation? I currently work full time. What commitments does it require? Yep, we can get to all of those. Okay. So I know a couple of you are like, well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Zivli will help me reach my goals. So if that's you, if you're here, that means that you're interested. Okay. This is day 3. We're 45 minutes in, and I want you to type out, I'm on the fence because. If you're on the fence, type it out. I'm on the fence because, And then I will do my best to answer your questions honestly or address your reservations. If I think that you're a good fit, I'm going to tell you so. And if I don't think that you're a good fit, I will let you know. I think by now you know I'm a person of integrity. We want good matches in the program so that you're happy in the program. So while those are coming in, I just want to address that number one reason that people don't join, even if they're a perfect fit. And it's because, I just want to try it on my own first. And honestly, I would be surprised if that thought didn't cross your mind because most of the people that we work with are very independent and capable and used to figuring things out on their own. They've read the books, they've listened to the podcasts, they know how, they've tried to apply what they know. So they've seen some progress, but either the progress didn't stick or they only get so far on their own. And so if part of you is thinking, let me just see how far I can get with this on my own, and I'll wait for the next chance enrollment opens. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Enrollment will open again this summer in 6 months. You can try this on your own. Most people do, at least at the start. And so here's what I want you to understand. No judgment, no pressure, but trying things on your own really isn't where people get stuck. People get stuck when they get stressed out. And rewiring the circuitry in your brain is what really requires the support. Okay. The insight, the knowledge that you have doesn't disappear under stress, but access to that information does. You have turned the channel in your brain. Okay. So what happens is that stress takes the thinking brain offline and the emotional brain reverts to the strongest, most familiar pathways. This is not a motivation issue. This is not a discipline issue. Okay. It's just how the brain works. So when people try this on their own, they usually start and stop at step 2 in the Zivli method, which is changing their diet and exercise. And if you're thinking about a New Year's goal or resolution, my guess is that's where your mind went too, was all the strategy stuff. That's where my mom's mind went this morning. Very few people start with self-regulation, even though that's what allows the nutrition and exercise changes to stick under stress. Okay. So they might clean up their diet a little bit. They might start a new exercise routine, get some momentum, but then something happens, because life happens, something always happens. And because the emotional brain wasn't trained in self-regulation, they just fall back and they get off track and they're right back to where they started. Okay. Lasting change requires the repetition and structure and support to deal with the stress while it's actually happening. You can't just wait for life to settle down or someday. I heard someone say, I'll do it someday. I'm like, well, someday's not on the calendar. You got a Sunday through a Saturday. That's on the calendar. So yeah, that experience of life slowing down just doesn't really come. I know a lot of people because we work with a lot of people over 50 who retire and then they're like, how did I ever have time to work? I feel like my schedule just filled up right again. So that's really what most programs miss. They teach you what to do. They don't support you and your nervous system while it's under stress so that you can actually do what you know to do. All right. So Zivli is not for people who just want more information. You can get that online for free. You can get information online for free. I'm the first person to tell you that. I've put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of free information on my YouTube channel and podcast. Okay. You will get the best of my information inside the Zivli course. It's structured, organized, evidence-based, step-by-step, and guided. So you're not like trying to piecemeal things together. But Zivli is really for people who want guidance while stress is present. They want structure that removes the guesswork. They want support in rewiring their brain. And they want accountability that feels safe, not shaming. That's another thing that I've heard a lot of, especially from former Weight Watchers, where, they weighed in and then their coach kind of gave them this look like, did you try it? Did you really try? And it's like, that is not what we're about. There's no shaming, no blaming. There's just love and support. So this is really not about doing more. It's about changing in a safe, sustainable way, like that's in line with how your brain actually works. Okay. So this is just a decision to stop trying doing something on your own that wasn't designed to be done, like to be done alone. Okay. The rewiring work, the way that I see it is to get deep enough into your brain, you need to borrow your provider's brain state. They co-regulate with you when you're doing that deep work. I like to say it's kind of like a lifeguard who knows when to hand you the floaty and pull you back up versus kind of like let you struggle, not struggle, but let you strengthen that rewiring muscle on your own. Okay. So you borrow your provider's brain state, they co-regulate with you. It's really important for rewiring. Having support matters. All right. So joining Zivli is saying, I don't want to keep starting over. I don't want to keep waiting for life to slow down or be perfect. I need something that works now when I'm stressed out, and I want support as I learn this new way of living. I think that that is very wise. I think that it is wise to ask for and accept help. So, I think the other thing that I want to get today is questions for sure, but just ask yourself these things really, really quick. Am I tired of managing this? Am I tired of waking up every day not knowing how to lose the weight, not knowing how to lower my blood sugars? Am I tired of starting over? Am I tired of worrying about my health? Am I tired of watching YouTube videos and trying random things and hoping that something sticks? If the answer is yes, and you're ready for real support, built for your nervous system and your metabolism and your emotional brain, then join us on the inside. So remember, our January cohort begins January 7th, and enrollment will close January 5th at midnight Central Time. So Beth is going to drop the link in the chat one more time to join. I'm going to get to the live Q&A. Before I do that, I just wanted to thank you all one more time for your time and attention. I admire all of you for being here. I think that it takes courage and guts to change your circuitry, to change your habits, to change your lifestyle, especially if people around you aren't doing that. So I'm proud of you, and I hope that you're proud of yourself. So I am going to get into the Q&A. Yeah. Debbie, what does it mean if I'm not feeling much transformation as I'm doing these short exercises? Does it mean I'm not a good match for this type of program? You're not supposed to feel much transformation. The only thing that my hope is that you feel during those short exercises is a blip of relief and a spark of joy. These short exercises are not the transformation work. These are the tip of the iceberg of the self-regulatory work. So my hope is that you experience even a nanosecond of a higher brain state. So that does not mean that you're not a good match for this type of program. That's a normal response to that type of exercise. Debbie, on the fence, would Rewire Brain help with reactions to various smells? I don't know. I've never worked with somebody who wanted to rewire a scent circuit, is what I would call that. So I honestly don't know. Diane, what is the time commitment in terms of teaching sessions? When do they occur? Are they recorded if we can't join live? So Diane, we've structured the curriculum to take about 1 hour a week to go through on your own time. All of them are pre-recorded videos that are kind of housed in an online course with private access. And then every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time, you're going to be invited to a live group coaching call with me to go over the information from that week and get any questions that you have answered. Okay. Now that's for the entire 6 months. And then if you want to do the reboot, you can keep coming the next time. The last 12 weeks of the program for new members is emotional brain training coaching as well. So existing members, you can sign up for the small group coaching. We've been talking about that, but it's not like included in the reboot. So that's $189 a month, and we only open up enrollment quarterly. But new members, that's include 3 months of small group coaching is included in the enrollment fee. And those coaching call times will be dependent upon the coach's availability and other group members. So we try to pick a day and time that works for you consistently with the small group coaching. But the large group coaching is every Wednesday from 1 to 2 Central Time. And they are recorded. The recordings are posted within 48 hours, and you can watch them anytime. So, Elizabeth, I'm on the fence because I need to also deal with what I think is a personality disorder I have. She has not been evaluated yet, but I think your program addresses major issues that can significantly help me. But then again, I don't know. And the other thing is I am going to the Philippines in a few days and I will be there for around 3 months. So this may not be the best time for me, but I'm interested and would love to talk to someone about possible future options. I do have more specific questions with the program. I would also like to bring this up with a friend who could use this program, but I'm sure she would need more details. She does live in the Philippines, so I don't know if our program, yes, it can be done easily internationally because it's all online. Yep. And they're both seniors in their mid 70s. So yeah, I think that's great, Elizabeth. If you're going to the Philippines for 3 months, it's up to you. You can join now or you can join in the next enrollment will be in June. So we'll start in July. And again, you can join now and do the reboot in July. Like if you start and you're like, oh, this isn't the best time, but it's up to you. If you want to talk with someone about more details, just email support@zivli.com and we can get that set up. Sue says, I'm on the fence because I don't know if I believe in the mind change working. Believe more in concrete process of lowering insulin and inflammation. We got that too. If you don't believe it, that's fine. You take what you want. Um, it is, I think it can be hard to believe, Sue. Sometimes we've heard of people saying, well, that sounds too good to be true. But what I would encourage you to reflect upon is, did you notice any sort of shift, even a 5% shift in how you felt during the exercises in this reset? That is evidence that your brain changed its biochemistry, which changed how you feel. And that is the mind change working. The other thing, and I don't know that I would care about the mindset stuff as much if I didn't care first about insulin resistance. But there is so much evidence that stress contributes to insulin resistance and inflammation. And so if the term mind change or mindset work is difficult for you, I would encourage you to think of it as stress reduction. And if that is a little bit more concrete, fantastic. Because when you lower your stress, you alter those 8 chemicals that contribute to insulin resistance. There will be a floor on what you can do with diet and exercise and sleep alone. We must also address the stress to really heal insulin resistance. Okay. Debbie said, I'm on the fence because I will sign up for programs and not follow through. That's just existing circuitry, Debbie, and the programs didn't deal with the circuitry, and we do. You probably have some circuits and the self-regulation. So the reason that you probably didn't follow through is either you got overwhelmed, your brain kind of revolted, and you got off track, perhaps. Um, or just existing circuits didn't allow you to implement the changes that they were recommending. So we're here for you. And I understand that fear, but I really don't think there's a better program out there that's more supportive or designed for people like you who fear that, yeah, I know it would work. I just don't know if it would work for me because I don't know if I would follow through. It's a very supportive, structured, and evidence-based program, and we deal with the mindset and the stress that would prevent you from following through. Yeah, Diane, I am on the fence because I already feel like I have low capacity, work, parenting, aging parents, etc. You can read that as I am on the fence because I already feel like I have high stress. High stress equals low capacity. So the self-regulatory work is so great, especially for work, especially for parenting, especially for aging parents. I really want you to view this as beneficial for every single aspect in your life. This is not just for your health domain, but when you learn the skills to better manage and reduce your stress, we're not just managing it, we're reducing it at the brain circuitry level, you're going to be able to increase your capacity. But your capacity will not increase unless you work less, can't parent less. You probably need, those are real responsibilities. So we have to control what we can control, which is what we focus on. And the most effective thing that you can do to focus on is lowering your stress to increase your capacity. Great questions, guys. Okay. Any other questions that I can help with today? Ken said, will this help manage my blood pressure? Absolutely. Beth, I love when Beth and I just say pretty much the same thing. Um, hmm She said, we have many members who have reduced or eliminated blood pressure medications even before EBT was added to the program. Oh, Wendy. Hi, Wendy. She said, me reduced all my blood pressure meds. We have one member, Tracy, who in about 8 weeks was off of her blood pressure medications. And we do also, I would say this is a pretty medical program where we give you some really concrete instructions on if you're taking blood sugar medication or you're taking blood pressure medication, these are the signs to look out for when it gets too low. You want to be monitoring those numbers and in communication with your physician so that they believe you when you say, hey, I think it's time to reduce my medication. Physicians typically have a lot of resistance to deprescribing medications that they have prescribed. It just makes them nervous. They're more comfortable prescribing medications, less comfortable deprescribing medications. So if you can have the data and have awareness of what are the signs of low blood pressure, what are the signs of low blood sugar, then you can let your doctor know. I remember Tracy let her doctor know, and the doctor kind of just like was like, okay. And then she's like, no, like I almost passed out. I need to get off of these medications. And so then she finally was able to do that. Hmm. Yeah, so Patty said, where does the spiritual component fit into the program? So Patty, I'm a spiritual person, a person of faith. Whenever I'm coaching somebody, if they want to go there, I can go there with them anytime. But the spiritual aspect, I would say, really comes along more in the advanced EBT, where you're focusing on the reward of spirituality, seeing the grace, beauty, and mystery of life. And if you're a person of faith, you can incorporate that way sooner. If you're not, I would just like wait until then. So it's explicitly done in one of the advanced kits for EBT that would be maybe like a year into things, depending on how fast you go. Debbie, does the other than the EBT component in the second 3 months, can you talk more about what the first half of the program addresses? Of course, Debbie. So I'm going to actually attach a link to our program guide, Debbie, and that's going to show you um, like the schedule week by week and what we address. And I'll open that up. How many people are generally in the live coaching session? Depends. Um, it really depends on the week. I'd say less than 100, more than 15, less than 100, but it depends on the week. Okay, let me share this with you so we can go through some of the details. And I don't want this to overwhelm you, so just, take it as you will. So your first 3 months, that's when we're going to be covering health data. So we're going to teach you how to read your blood work. We're going to dive into nutrition. So we have in-depth information on micronutrients, hydration, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, food tracking if you choose to do so. Intermittent fasting. So there's lessons on the benefits of intermittent fasting, how does it get started with intermittent fasting for you, and then meal planning and prepping. Traditional stress management techniques, sleep, and exercise. Okay. So the first 3 months, I would say we're primarily focusing on increasing protein, increasing water, and just letting your brain absorb the information. That's like the lifestyle medicine part of it. Okay. The next 3 months is the emotional brain training stuff. Oh, also in the first 3 months, yeah, you said I understood the EBT, so some self-regulatory work. Yep. We also have some personal touch points. So there's two one-on-one calls. One is for the strategy side of things. One is more of a mindset call. You have the option to have an accountability buddy. And we have for people who don't feel like they're very tech savvy, we added something this time of an onboarding call where you can meet with a coach and they can get like any of the apps set up for you that we might recommend that you use. Okay. So that would be that. I'm not going to go through too much because I don't want to overwhelm people, and the link is right there. So Patty asked, does signing up now include access for life to the weekly Zooms? Yes, access for life. They're There's no, let's see, I'm reading what Beth said. Yeah, so Beth, right now, for people who aren't in like the new member program, we offer coaching twice a month and they can come anytime, that's free. But if people want that regular weekly support, then you would just sign up for the reboot, sign up for the next reboot, and then there's weekly support now. Yep. Otherwise, on top of that weekly support inside of the new member program container, we have coaching calls twice a month for members. It's usually the first Wednesday of the month, and that's more of like a goal setting and an intention call. And then the third Wednesday of the month, I host a mindset coaching call. Great questions. Okay, I don't see. Okay. Beth, thanks for highlighting them. I think that's it. Um, Jill, can we do the program without the apps? Jill, the only app that I would strongly suggest that you use, if any, is the Spiral Up app by EBT. You don't need to track your food. Another app that we suggest is if you like on-the-go access to the course content, is an app to get that, but you can watch it from a desktop. But the EBT app is actually really important because your brain needs to link stress to a new solution. And so it's going to allow quick, easy access to the EBT tools so that you can self-regulate. And we can get all that set up for you. And we do include for new members and reboot members who haven't already used it, 6 months of free access to the EBT Spiral Up app. So we pay for that for you. Rebecca, is the app Spiral Up or Spiral Up Lite? The app that we would have you use is the Spiral Up app. Same company. The Spiral Up Lite app is just one self-regulatory tool. The Spiral Up app is where everything else lives. Mhm. And again, we cover your first 6 months of Spiral Up app usage. I'm looking for any other questions. Mm. Patty, what is the cost of this spiral? She said cereal. Just to clarify, it's called Spiral Up. So you're spiraling up into joy, not down into stress. There's differing options. I know right now they're working on a tools only option, which would be $9 a month. So no access to like any of their community stuff. But I think that our Zivli members, Beth, am I wrong? I thought it was like $29 a month is what we get it for. I think it's around that. So somewhere in there. But I know they're working on a $19 a month. Okay. So I'd say like $19 to $29 a month. Yep. Bonnie, I had never heard about that app Spiral Up yet during the onboarding. Yeah. Is this information somewhere else in the program content? Hi, Bonnie. Um, let me see. Let me open up our onboarding thing just to be thorough. And Beth might be able to answer the question. Um, more specifically. I'm looking through our tech setup thing. So that would be part of the onboarding call. We're hosting those next week. And yeah, we update the lessons as we can. So we'll be updating things, but I'm trying to think where I think we talk about it somewhere, but I'm just not right. No, it's not coming to me. Spiral Up. I'm searching in our program content. Okay. So the onboarding call then is where the coach would help you with that. And then Beth. Yeah. I think that somebody is unmuted. If you could mute yourself. Yep. Debbie, so Bonnie, anyways, all you need to do is the reason that you probably haven't had more communication about it yet is how our process works with EBT is because we're paying for the new member app access, is we need to get a list of all of our members and their phone numbers, and then we send that over to the EBT people, and they create an account, and then we are able to walk you through how to download that app. But until you have the account, you won't really be able to log into the app anyways. So wait for more information about that. Oh. Lisa said that she lost audio. Can everybody hear me? Okay, thanks, Bonnie. Debbie, do you need to maintain the Spiral Up app after the initial period to maintain the effectiveness of your initial training? It depends on how fast you use the tools. Debbie, I have them all memorized now. Um, and I probably had them all memorized after like 4 months. So it depends on you. I would say you still want some sort of plug into emotional brain training coaching, whether that's through Zivli or through EBT directly. But we have all of like the advanced kits inside of our course, or we will when they get them all updated. But we'll have all of the advanced kits inside of our course so that even when you get to the joy circuitry part, you'll have all the resources needed just inside the Zivli community. So it's a matter of um, how frequently you use the tools and if you can memorize them. But sometimes, and just how fast you get wired for joy too, because initially you're going to the app a lot to get to that place of automaticity. And then there comes a point where your brain can pop up, or yes, you have the tool memorized, so you don't need the app anymore. But when you're starting out, your brain cannot remember the steps. So having the app is really important starting out. Okay, thanks, Jerry. I'm glad you can still hear me. Oh, okay, thanks, Beth. So Bonnie, yeah, I'm just going to say it out loud in case people are listening to the recording. Um, Bonnie said, I've never heard about, the Spiral Up app yet. Did I miss something in onboarding? Beth said it's in week 1, and that content will be released on 1/7. Thanks, Beth. Okay, guys, this was very fun. Do any existing members have any questions for me about the new program structure, emotional brain training, anything like that? Mm. Liz said, when I joined after boot camp, I bought the blood test. My husband is in the program with me. Can I get one from him? Yes, you can, Liz. Beth, will you please? Did you get the cardio? She's so good. I just love Beth. So just go to that link and you can purchase either the insulin test or the cardiometabolic test kit. Yep. Okay, guys, this was really, really fun. It was a fun way for me to end the year and kind of start the new year. And if you have any questions about our Zivli program, whether you're a reboot member or somebody who's considering joining, please email us at support@zivli.com and we will be sure to get back to you with an answer before enrollment closes on January 5th. Thanks, Beth. Guys, I wish all of you a happy new year and yeah, I'm just grateful for all of you, especially our existing Zivli members. I'm excited to kind of start this new method that really embodies emotional brain training because it's been so powerful and our members who have used it love it. So, yeah, Sherry, I'm looking forward to it as well. Yay, Bonnie, I'm excited for you to start too. Yes, yes, Kate. So Kate got here late. Will you be posting recording? I sure will, and I will email you when that recording is ready. My goal is to get it done before 2:30 because that's when the Huskers play. And I want to watch that Husker football game today, even though we're going to get smoked or we're going to get cooked, as the cool kids say, we're going to get cooked. Yeah, you're welcome, Debbie. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Wendy. Thanks for being here.